Welcome to the Let's Talk About Love, Sex, and Infidelity podcast with your host, Todd Krieger. Todd has over 35 years of experience working with thousands of couples as a licensed therapist in his private practice. Todd shares his insights on this show. It's never too early to divorce-proof your marriage or too late to heal yourselves and have the relationship you truly want.
Hi, everybody. This is Todd Krieger, and I'm here with Lora Cheadle. And usually, maybe I'm doing this solo, but I do my interviews from time to time. And I I get these requests, and I usually don't follow up. But Laura, as you'll know, she's so relevant for the people that follow me, and she's got a great story, and she's got great experience. So let me tell you about her, and we'll have a great conversation, her and I. So Lora Cheadle is a betrayal recovery coach. She's an attorney and a TEDx speaker who helps individuals heal from infidelity and relationship betrayal. Sounds familiar? Emotionally, energetically, and legally. Whether you're the one who was betrayed or one who was betrayed or the one who broke trust, Lora provides compassionate, no shame support to help you navigate the aftermath with clarity, accountability, and grace. Our story is she discovered her husband's 15-year affair. She rebuilt her life from the ground up and now empowers others to do the same. Her approach blends trauma-informed coaching, somatic attachment therapy, this is definitely close to my heart, clinical hypnotherapy, and legal insight with intuitive guidance and ancestral healing, which we're going to check that out. I love that. Helping clients reconnect to their inner truth, break generational cycles, and reclaim self-worth. Lora is the author of It's Not Burnout, It's Betrayal, 5 Tools to Fuel Up and Thrive and Flaunt. Drop Your Cover. This is the second one, right? This is another one.
My second one.
The second one is Drop Your Cover, or is it Flaunt? I want to make sure I'm doing this right.
It is Flaunt, Drop Your Cover.
Flaunt. Okay, so let me do that again. First of all, It's Not Burnout, It's Betrayal, 5 Tools to Fuel Up and Thrive. And she made it clear. I just didn't read it right. And Flaunt, Drop Your Cover and Reveal Your Smart, Sexy, and Spiritual Self, and the host of the Flaunt, ! podcast. She's licensed to practice law in California and Colorado and offers a holistic, soul-centered path to healing that integrates mind, body, and spirit. So welcome, Lora. And
thank you.
Go for it. It's great. As from checking me out, is I do a lot of work with individuals and couples in trauma and a lot of work with couples. But what I'm also probably mostly known for these days is healing from infidelity. I do a lot of work with passion, rekindling passion. I wrote a book called The Long Hot Marriage. But generally, lately, oh my God, I just found out my partner is cheating. And within minutes or days, they'll call me, and sometimes with their partner on the phone, also frantic and panicked. But I love some of your approaches. What caught my attention were some of the things you say. I think that when it comes to infidelity, there's a lot of rigid and fixed ideas. That's not true, number one. And number two, are not helpful. And so when I see someone that is speaking what I would say from a deeper place, I always want to expose the people that are following me in my emails and social media to be exposed to. So let me ask you one question. You often say that betrayal uncovers the truth. What does that mean? And how do you help clients uncover what's really been hidden beneath the surface, and why does it matter?
Yeah, so much right there. Betrayal uncovers so many deep truths about us. And I know when I found out, I wanted to make it all about my partner and his trauma and his past and what he did and how he hurt us. And it wasn't until I started really sitting with it and thinking, no, this is uncovering some patterns in our relationship. This is uncovering the way I perform in life. This is uncovering, I came from a very functional background, so I thought, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm great. You know what? There's still pains there. There's still places where I can grow. And I was performing in my life. And when I perform, when so many people perform, what we're really doing is self-betraying. we are not taking care of ourselves. We are not listening to ourselves. We are following the paradigms that we were raised in, the patriarchy, the familial culture, whatever it is. And that was not me.
It makes sense. Sometimes I'll say, because there's lots of ways to say this, but you're so right. We have learned to present ourselves as opposed to express ourselves. And it becomes habitual. And we learn to ignore, not consciously necessarily, but we learn to ignore deeper truths, our intuition, our deeper wants and needs. And so when you say perform, you're not talking just about performing on stage. You're talking about doing what you think you're supposed to do, meeting what other people's expectations of you are, and really not living from your true self.
Yes.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about labels and roles and scripts. What are the things that people label you with? She's the smart one. He's the athletic one. She's the capable one. He's the... We have labels, and then we embody those labels without questioning, but is that me? Was that me then? Is that me now? And is that me in the future? We just roll with it because life is busy. And I had 2 kids and my husband traveled, and I'm rolling with it. I'm not sitting there on a day-to-day basis asking myself deep existential questions. Nobody really does that.
No.
Yeah. And then 20 some years later, 15 years later, whatever it is, you go, how did I end up in this life? This isn't really the kind of life I wanted to create. And how do I shift all of that now? And that's what betrayal uncovers. It uncovers how we slowly started getting off of our authentic path and ended up with this life that so often is not even ours.
That's great. So it's a betrayal of self. And it's not for us to beat ourselves up about it. Like you say, it's happening really slowly. We don't even, like that story of you put a frog in water and you start to boil it. They don't even know what's happening until, oh my. And so it's like, here we are. How did I get here? And it's usually because we're unconscious people that need to become more conscious. So what you're saying is, it's not just about the person, in this case, your husband, who betrayed you. It's like, where did I betray myself? What am I not paying attention to in myself? It's great.
Yeah, that catalyst to step outside of yourself and your life and to finally self-reflect from an honest place. Because I don't know about you, but I can deceive myself often without knowing it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And without asking the question, am I deceiving myself today? Am I missing me? Which we, like I said, none of us have been trained to do. It's so easy, you're right, to get off our own path, and we don't even know it.
No.
That's interesting. That's great. Yeah. And you're right. I was a professor for years, and I talked about this whole thing about crisis in Chinese. That one, the first character by itself means danger, and the second means opportunity. And that is oftentimes, and you and I are both in agreement that we're not saying infidelity is good. It's hurtful, it's terrible, it's painful, it's disruptive of life. However, at the same time, it is oftentimes an opportunity to go deeper, to look at what we haven't been paying attention to.
Yeah. And also not just deeper within us and our lives, but in the world at large. And that's when I talk about some of the ancestral healing. How often are we repeating our parents' or our grandparents' patterns? And again, this is not about blame or shame or judgment. If your parents went through infidelity and your grandparents went through infidelity, this is like an ancestor. Epigenetics are a thing. We carry memories, we carry experiences. And do I want to be a part of this line? No, I want to do things differently. How am I going to do this? This is for me to determine, because I am a self-directed being. I am a sovereign being. That doesn't mean that I won't get thrown off my center. That doesn't mean that things won't happen. Of course they will. But it's that question of, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to use this for my benefit? I get to write the narrative of my life. I can write it any way I want.
Great. I love it. That's so true. And you're so right about epigenetics, which we actually carry within us the trauma and experiences of our ancestors. Absolutely been shown, been proven. there's intergenerational trauma, and there's intergenerational learning. We learn. Our brain learns things. It's not just math and science. It learns how to attach and how not to attach. It learns how to be assertive and how not to be assertive. A lot of those things that we learn, the buck stops here. That's good. Like, here I am. I don't want to carry this on. You have children. I have children. I have a grandchild now. We don't want to pass that on to our descending generations either. So what's the best way to do it? Start here. That's good. You say, and I know this is all very connected, what if the betrayal was never really about us, but for us? Now, and that's how do we begin to shift the narrative from devastation to initiation? So when people hear that, some people will go, oh, really? You're going to say it's a good thing? I know I intimated that with the crisis words, right? So it's really not about us, but for us. So this is for me. And people might have a pretty negative reaction to that.
Yeah. There's several different layers there. First of all is, like you said, there's all these beliefs about infidelity. And the belief around infidelity that I had is, if somebody cheats on me, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not a good enough conversationalist. I'm not good enough in bed. I'm not good enough in the house. Like, it makes it all about me, that somebody cheated because I'm not worthy, because I'm not enough. So that's what makes infidelity initially so painful, because it makes you go, oh my God, I thought I was doing this right. I was trying so hard. I was working so hard. I was doing everything that I could to the best of my ability, and it wasn't enough. And that's a losing narrative, and it's absolutely not true. And as I started learning more and understanding this and unpacking it, my husband's cheating had nothing to do with me. What I like to say is, cheating is oftentimes a coping mechanism. It's a maladaptive coping mechanism. He was the one with pain. He was the one with an inability to identify or express or communicate his emotions, his needs, his want. He was the one with unresolved trauma. He had a problem. He was trying to feel better. Whether it's getting validation, whether it's feeling entitled and like this man of the world, whether it's whatever it is, it's not about me. It had nothing to do with me. I couldn't have given anything that would fulfill his needs and fill that hole, because it wasn't about me. We had our relationship, and of course there was good, bad, wrong with that, but this was about him personally.
That is some of the biggest challenges I have with people that have been betrayed, whether it's a man or a woman or whatever, that they are stubborn oftentimes about giving up that idea that it's about them. And that also shows, again, when you say for us, the way I looked at it too is, it's an opportunity to look at, wow, I get triggered. This is not just about the infidelity. I already had these fears, self-doubts, inner critic going on inside of me before that. So it brings it up to the surface, and that's where it's another opportunity. It's probably the biggest challenge I have with betrayed people, to accept. And maybe there's something, I'm just thinking out loud here now, Lora, is that maybe we oftentimes have a hard time giving up the idea that the world revolves around me. And there's a little bit of grieving that has to happen there. I don't know what you think about that, but when things happen, it has nothing to do with me, which puts me in a powerless position in a way. I can't make you do anything. I can't make you be honest with me. I can't make you any of that. I could be the most loving, caring, kind person in the world, and this could still happen to me. Maybe that's hard for people to accept, that it could happen. So like a trade, okay, I can accept. If I can't accept that I'm powerless, then I have to accept responsibility, which is false responsibility in that case. When I taught, I taught a lot of classes on theory, and there was a theory called object relations theory. It's a theory that's been well established. But within that, there was a man named Kernberg, I think his name is Fairburn. It's been so many years now. Fairburn. Anyway, he talked about what's called the moral defense. And he said that the children, that's the same with adults really, but children, they can't accept that the other person couldn't be there for me because they are having issues. It's them, it's not me, because that would be such a scary proposition. So they have to take it on as if I could be a better child, if I could be more loving, if I could do it right, then maybe. And it's not true. But again, there's a certain amount of acceptance and grieving of I don't have control that people have to recognize too, I think. It's a little bit of a resistance for some people to recognize that.
Yeah, it is. And also just the layering of that. Like when you find out your partner has been unfaithful, you have been victimized. I don't want to sugarcoat it. Like it's good and this is going to be great. We're absolutely victimized. You absolutely had agency taken away. This was not fair. This was not right. This was not 100% you were victimized. When you're victimized and you're in that one down position, this is like my legal part. What you're trying to do is you're trying to rebalance. You're desperately clawing at whatever you can to find balance again. And the story that it was about me is a great way to find your balance again. But if you can just hold that little nugget of truth in your brain that I'm using this to find my balance right now because it gives me that sense of control. But as soon as I re-regulate my nervous system, as soon as I find a little bit of stability, then I can let this defense go. Just sometimes being willing to say, at some point, I'm going to realize it's not about me. When it feels safe to realize that, then I will do that.
That was a nuance that was really very important, Laura, for the people watching and listening. That's really important. It's not an instant thing. So people are going to hear this and they go, why can't I get there? I can't do that. You are absolutely right. You said it very well, that there's a certain rebalancing. And when you've been victimized, to say it was about me, it might give me some sense of control. I've lost all my control. And until I, like you said, re-regulate my nervous system, my central nervous system, where I am feeling safer, it doesn't have to be 100% safe, but safer. Now I could look at things with more clarity and recognize it never was about me. So for people listening, if you're not there yet, you'll get there. You'll get there if you do this stuff and do the work. But that is very true. There is a process that people are going to go through. I would never expect a client who's been betrayed to just get this in the first session with me. There's just no way. No. Totally understanding the pain, the devastation, the feeling of inadequacy that accompanies it, all that. But hopefully that'll pave the way to a deeper truth, like you say.
Yeah. And that's what I love just for being who I am. That's the space that I love to hold. I was on the floor sobbing, vomiting, unable to eat. I couldn't function for a few weeks there. And it got better. And then my perspective shifted. And my husband's perspective shifted. And he got better. And understanding evolves. And oh my gosh, do I know that you wanted to evolve overnight? Yes. It does take time. And I hate to say it, but it takes time. And you have to feel the pain and you have to feel the fear and you have to feel the confusion. But if you could just hold that hope that, you know what, I can see, look, she did it. He did it. They did it. There is a hope there. And I'm just getting through this journey.
Great. I love it. We're very like-minded.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. When someone says, I don't know who I am anymore, which I've heard a lot, because they're so identified with their life as it was, and this is such a disorienting experience. So when someone says, I don't know who I am anymore after betrayal, how can we help them use that rupture, not just to repair, but to rebuild on a foundation of sovereignty, embodiment, and self-worth? You've talked about it some, but let's go directly there again. And I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Who you are evolves. Who I was in college or in law school or as a little girl is different than newly married young mom, is different than mid-50s Laura. I was different before COVID than I am after COVID. Weathering a pandemic, everything makes us different. It's such an opportunity. The only constant is change. and we all fear change. But it is an opportunity to just sit with, how do I want to feel every day? Who do I want to be in this relationship? Because my idea as a newly married and young mom is I want to be of service to everyone. I want to have the perfect home and the perfect family, and I just want to be here and serve you. That's evolved. It's not that I want to not have a happy home, but I want to take care of me more. I want to empower my family more. Society has shifted. I have shifted. I will probably want to be different in 5 years than I am now. And it's okay not to know who you are. It's a delicious experience to start getting to know yourself. And also just to realize that we don't get to know ourselves. We're distracted with phones, with TV, with all of these things. If you were alone with yourself in a forest, on an island, whatever it is, there would be a huge level of discomfort until you started grounding back into yourself.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you remember the last time you and your partner got into that same argument for what felt like the 1,000th time? You know that moment when you see the familiar signs, the tone shift, the defensive posture, the rising tension, and you think, here we go again. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Licensed therapist Todd Krieger has worked with over 1,000 couples who felt trapped in these exact same destructive patterns. And after 30 years of clinical experience, he's discovered something fascinating. Relationship conflict isn't about poor communication skills or incompatibility. It's about understanding what's happening in your brain during those heated moments and having practical tools to redirect that energy toward connection instead of combat. That's why Todd created From Bickering to Connecting, a 90-minute masterclass that teaches neuroscience-backed techniques like the STOP method and 90-second rule. Take Jennifer and Mark, who had been fighting about household responsibilities for years. After learning Todd's techniques, they can now discuss the exact same topic without it exploding. As Jennifer put it, it's like we finally have a pause button for our arguments. Instead of another week of tension, you could be applying these life-changing techniques tonight. For just $97 for both you and your partner, you get lifetime access to the same tools that have helped over 1,000 couples break free from destructive patterns. You can find the link to enroll in Todd's Loving and Connecting Masterclass in the show notes.
That's great. That's great. You're absolutely correct. We are always in a process of becoming. Like you said, change is the only constant. Things are always changing. I was just telling a couple with young children who the oldest is about to go to kindergarten, and the husband is, I'm so close to her. I feel like I'm losing my identity a little bit as I let go. And I said, you're losing that identity, yes. But there'll be other identities you'll experience that you don't even know yet. So there is that. There is that. And one thing I've said to people, couples, that the person who betrays never, and I'm not taking responsibility for that. Esther Perel, I heard her say this first, but she said, when a person cheats, they're never looking for another person. They're looking for another self, or I would say another different part of themselves that have been pushed aside. Nobody's fault, but it just was that way, not being aware, whatever. And it's true for the person who's betrayed as well, but oftentimes that after infidelity, there's an opportunity to experience different parts of them. I've had many people that were, like you said, all about serving. They learned that they ignored their selfishness, for example, and that being selfish is different than self-absorbed. I look at selfishness as a positive. Selfishness, otherness is all good, right? A lot of these people that I've worked with that are betrayed, they recognize that, I wasn't selfish enough. And now I need to be. And that's going to probably resonate with many people that hear this, that they need to do that. And people that were the person who did the cheating, oftentimes also might have been not selfish enough. Unless there was a self-absorbed act, but they might not have been selfish enough. They might not have, I would say to the person who cheated, how often did you go to a partner and say, I'm struggling with our lack of intimacy and I really would like that? Never did that. Okay, you got to learn how to be more selfish and less self-absorbed. So there's those people that are not selfish enough because they're giving, and there are those
Yeah.
that just become self-absorbed and they just separate out. And now it's like, how do you meet your needs in the relationship with an adult, real adult person? So,
Yeah.
like you said, you're constantly not knowing who I am anymore, just oftentimes really means, I'll say it like this, my narrow idea of who I was has blown up. And
Yes.
now I need to be open to more of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. The phrase that I like using is self-possessed. I want to be fully possessed with Lora, whoever Lora is. I want my husband, you're right, Sean, he should have been fully self-possessed with who he was. Because when we are fully possessed and we are expressive and we are taking time to get to know ourselves, we don't need that external validation. And it's interesting, the mirrors in infidelity are ridiculous because he wanted external validation because he always felt inadequate. He had this underlying sense of inadequacy. I didn't know that. I've talked about patriarchal stuff. Men are supposed to be the rock. I thought he was the rock. I thought he would be fine. I thought he could handle anything when inside he's struggling, but he's not self-possessed enough to say, I'm struggling. Then me, on the other hand, I feel like I need to perform. I need to be the right size. I need to have the house that looks the same. I need to have kids that are doing the right thing. I need to be the perfect woman, and he needs to be the perfect man. And both, self-possessed anxieties,
Yes.
not with ourselves.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Like the people that I've seen that have thrived, and I've worked with many that have, are those that were able to, I like that term, self-possessed, be curious.
Yeah.
Curiosity. The word curious is one of my favorite words with individuals and couples, to be curious. And we're not near curious enough. Like you said in the beginning of our talk, we're just doing our thing. We're raising our kids. We're doing this. But we're not really curious. We're not asking ourselves the existential question, which we'll get to. So again, we've been talking about this, but this question is a great one from a soul perspective.
Yeah.
What do you think betrayal is here to teach us? And what changes when we stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this here to awaken in me?
Yeah. I love that, because if you get existential, you think about the life of the soul. The soul, it's like energy. It cannot be destroyed. My soul cannot be shattered. I felt like my soul was shattered by betrayal. I felt that way, but it wasn't.
Mm-mm.
And it's that shattering away of the external to find the life of the internal. And that's hard to do. How do I know that I am this whole, worthy, complete being? I can be living under the proverbial bridge and be a whole, worthy, complete being in the exact same way that if I'm in this amazing mansion and I'm the right size and doing the right things and earning the right amount of money, on the inside, my soul is still that strong. That's strength.
Yeah, that's terrific. And it's that journey from focusing so much on outside to being curious inside. That's why the name of my new program is called Healing Infidelity from the Inside Out. It's really all about just everything you're saying, everything you're saying. And the soul, how would you define soul? I think you and I are like-minded on this too, just by what you're saying. But how would you define soul? You said from a soul perspective. What does that mean?
Yeah. It's that spark. It's that divine essence of who I am. My energy signature is, I have an energy signature of joy. I'm a very exuberant, joyful person. That's not right, wrong, or good or bad. I've got a son with an energy signature of like strength. I have another one with an energy signature of like tenderness. It's knowing who you are at that very core essence and allowing yourself to become more and more fully who you are.
Allowing yourself to become more and more fully who you are. Yeah, that really says it. That really says it. So for those listening in, we are not at all minimizing the pain. And Lora has been very clear with that. And I have in many of my videos and sessions and all that. Nobody's minimizing the pain. It's real. There's just a discovery that awaits for those of you that are willing to take this on, that are curious, that are not willing to stay stuck in being a victim, even though you have been a victim.
Yes.
And when you do that, there are opportunities that await you. And that's really the positive in all this.
You know, I had said earlier that you have been victimized and you have been victimized. That's a fact. But being a victim is a role. And you can play the role of victim and you can play it until you're 80 years old and you can still tell the story. Do you know what happened to me? That's playing the role of victim. Or, yeah. And if you want to, by all means, you know, it's your life, you do you. I don't want to play the role of victim. I was victimized. You were victimized. I'm going to play a different role. I get one life to live here, and I'm living it from an empowered place. If you like the word victor, great. If you like the word survivor, great. If you like pick a word, embody that role. Because this is your narrative. This happened to you. It needs to be integrated into the rest of your life. So how are you going to make sense of it? I'm a big fan of Viktor Frankl. What are you going to do with this?
Right. Now, he was the epitome of a reframing this horrific experience of being in the concentration camp, and in the concentration camp saying, I'm going to take this horrific experience and contribute to mankind. And he came up with this new way of doing therapy called logos therapy. And his book was Man's Search for Meaning. And he's a great example of that. And there's been other examples of that where one of the people I really enjoyed was, I'll think of a name in a second. She's from England, Byron Katie.
Oh,
And
yes.
Byron Katie, I've learned a lot from her. And I remember hearing her somewhere in the last 5 years on the radio, and she was going blind. Yeah, she was going blind. And she said, I'm so looking forward to allowing lovely people that I could depend on to help me. And she said with total authenticity. Now, I'm not saying many of us are going to reach that very quickly or ever, but that is, to me, what can I get out of this? I can contribute to other people, letting them give to me. Viktor Frankl contributed in his way, and these are people that thrive even through horrendous or challenging situations.
Yeah, because we are meaning-making machines. When a loop is opened up in our brain, we scan the environment, searching for information to close that loop, but it can also be self-directed. I can look at the negative, which we all were wired for a bias for negativity, and I can create this horrific, catastrophic story, or I can intentionally choose to find the evidence out there that closes those loops in a way that legitimately makes sense because it's true for me and my situation. And then I feel better. And I want to feel better.
Well. Yeah, and you're right. We have what they call it, the brain has a negative bias. And the reason it does is because we're trying to survive in the world. And so fear can be useful, but because the fastest ones get out of the way of the oncoming train or whatever. At the same time, like you said, if you're self-directed and you're a meaning-making machine, the question is, okay, just using your language, what I love, what role do I want to live out? Do I want to live out the role of victim? I probably don't. So what kind of meaning can I make out of this that gets me out of that role to a much more energetic role, an alive role, a role that feels good, feels better, gets the energy flowing. So this excellent. This is great, Lora. We do think a lot of the same ways, and I think that this interview was really easy for me because of that.
It was enjoyable. Yeah.
It was great. Tell us a little bit of how, if what you're saying resonates and people want to seek you out, how can they seek you out?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of different ways. My website is loracheadle.com. And Lora
spell that. Yeah.
Yeah, Lora, which is a different way to spell Lora, but LoraCheadle.com. And I work with people individually, and I also work with people in groups. And another thing that might be easier is if you just go to betrayalrecoveryguide.com. you can download my free betrayal recovery guide. It's got 5 tools, somatic processing, hypnotherapy, 5 just different tools to help get you started so you can start re-regulating the nervous system, start getting the help, the support, feeling better. And then you can reach out to me from there as well.
That's great. Thank you. So thank you, Lora. Don't go away after I stop the recording, but I'm going to stop this. And thank you all for listening to Lora and myself. And I just want to end as I always end. This is Todd Krieger, making the world safe for love.
That's it for today's episode of Let's Talk About Love, Sex, and Infidelity podcast with your host, Todd Krieger. For free resources and materials, head over to toddkrieger.com. Loved this episode? Head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.